What's up, guys? Welcome back to Voyage RC. Out in the garage today because we are working on Little Red Mark V Volkswagen Jetta. We are going to be putting a new set of engine mounts in her. So we've got the rear dog bone mount from Spulen with the insert for the bushing. So that's going to tighten it up quite a bit. Should make better shifting feel and stuff like that. And then we've got the set of transmission and engine mounts from 034 Motorsports, and that is a 60 durometer street density. So it should be really good for daily driving, but still tighten it up quite a bit and make it feel pretty good. So car's running on the stock mounts right now, getting a little sloppy. It's got 159,000 miles on it. I don't think they've ever been replaced. I'm not the original owner of the car though, so who knows. But we're going to throw these new ones in there and see how it feels. Hey guys, got a new merch store available with some hats, shirts, and other accessories. So if you want to pick up some cool swag and support the channel, go ahead and click that link in the description below. What's up, guys? It's the next day. Got the mounts installed, put a few miles on Little Red here. Yeah, feels really good. We're gonna get in the car, go meet up with a buddy. So let's take a drive and I'll kind of explain how the install went and tell you my thoughts on how the new engine mounts feel. All right, guys, so engine mounts are in. I'm gonna talk about the install first, kind of let you guys know how that went. Pretty self-explanatory and easy on the passenger side and the driver's side, so the transmission and the passenger side engine mount, the ones you do from the engine bay. Pretty straightforward. Got the sun glaring right in my face. Make a turn here, get that out of here in just a second. But yeah, those ones are pretty easy. I've been on the transmission side plenty of times before. I did the clutch on my own in my garage, so obviously I had that side out to disconnect the transmission. But that one's pretty easy. You just pull the battery and the battery tray out, and then you've got quick access to it. So it's pretty easy there. Just make sure you torque all the bolts down. You should use new bolts when you do this because they are all torque yield bolts. So you should get a fresh set of bolts for all the mounts when you do it. And then the passenger side engine mount, the one that's actually attached to the engine, that was pretty straightforward. You pull the inner fender liner out and you've got access to the one bolt that you can't get from the engine bay, so Volkswagen kind of made it pretty easy for you. Onto the freeway here, but anyways, yeah, the two topside ones were fairly easy. All you need is something to support the engine while you're doing it, obviously, because you're disconnecting the mount, so you don't want the engine to drop. And then you put a jack under it, gives you enough maneuverability so you can adjust the height and stuff. So those were pretty straightforward. Just obviously, like I said, make sure you're using new bolts and then torquing them to the proper specs when you're done, and then everything's good. The bottom side one, so the dog bone mount, so the rear transmission mount on the underside of the car, that gave me a little bit of an issue just because I did the Spulen mount kit with the insert for the bushing on the back side of it, to help stiffen it up a little bit, get better shift feel and stuff. So putting that insert in really wasn't too bad. Just put some grease on it, it slides in relatively easy. I put the jack under it just to kind of push it in, and then I was having some issues lining up the bolt because I didn't push it in with the billet mount in. So I would recommend sliding the billet mount into the bushing and then pushing the insert up. That'll make sure everything stays square and easier to do. So what it did was actually it tweaked the mount, and then so the threads on the upper part of the mount that the screw threads into, it had actually warped that a little bit, so it wasn't lining up and I couldn't thread the bolt in. But yeah, as long as you do the billet insert, put that in first and then push the bushing in, you shouldn't have really any issues with it. Like I said, just make sure you put a little bit of grease on the insert. That'll help it slide into the bushing. So yeah, other than that, after that was done, the only quality thing I would say is, so I got the Spulen mount from USP Motorsports. I'm not sure, I mean, I'm sure Spulen isn't a USP brand, correct me if I'm wrong, but if Spulen Engineering or Spool Engineering is a USP brand, just correct me down in the comments. But I bought it from USP Motorsports, and then the bolts that the kit comes with,
are a little shorter. So the transmission side, so there's 2 bolts on the transmission side, and then you have the main bolt back by the bushing. The bolts for the transmission side, the front one was a little shorter than the factory one. So when I was threading that bolt in, and keep in mind that this bolt only gets torqued to 30 foot-pounds plus a 90-degree afterwards. So it's a 2-stage, which all the bolts for the mounts are 2-stage. So you have a torque amount and then a 90-degree turn after that. I didn't even get it torqued to 30 foot-pounds, and it had actually ripped the threads out of the case itself. It wasn't the bolt that lost the threads, it was the case. Luckily, I still had the factory bolt, which is a little longer than the one that comes with the USP bolt, so I was able to get that in there, have enough threads to torque it down and still do its job. Was a little worried there for a minute, a little ticked off, but everything worked out, so I just got that bolt in there. The rear bolt of the 2 that's actually on the transmission, since it is done with 2 bolts, that one was fine, so I used the USP Motorsport, or the one that comes with the Spool Engineering dog mount, so the one that comes in the kit. That bolt was fine, so that was torqued properly, everything was fine. I was able to get a good read on it. I didn't do quite a full 90-degree after that, just because I was a little worried about the threads, but it's on there, it's fine, it's not going anywhere. Got the full torque spec on the front one with the factory bolt, so I shouldn't really have any issues. But yeah, other than that, those were the only problems with the install, and those were all on the rear dog bone mount. So other than that, everything went in good. Once I figured out the problem with the upper threads on that rear one being tweaked a little bit because of the bushing insert, I just slid the insert down a little bit. That lined up the threads again, and then I was able to put the dog bone mount in, push it all the way up, and get a good feel on the threads. So just keep that in mind if you're doing this yourself. You're going to want that billet insert, or the arm itself, in before you slide the bushing in. But yeah, that's the install. Now for how it feels driving, it's night and day difference with all these mounts on it. I replaced them because all my mounts were going bad. You could actually start to hear a rattle from them, which pretty gone at that point. I had actually replaced, so I said earlier that these were all the OEM factory bushings. I had actually replaced the transmission side at one point because it actually did rattle. I was on a drive to California, and you'd actually get a little rattle from it. So I had to replace that once, but I just used a cheap factory replacement, or not even, just a knockoff replacement for it, and that ended up going bad too. So the engine had a lot of movement on it, and I'm not sure if the driver's side or the passenger side engine mount was the original or not, but I just replaced them all, not only to replace them because they needed to be, but for the performance and stiffening it up and stuff like that. But it is night and day difference. I love it. You do get a little bit of vibration in the cabin at idle, but once you bring the engine up off of idle, it's not bad. And this does have the integrated engineering stage 1 tune, and if you want to see a video on my review of that, and as well as all the other stuff that's on the vehicle, you can check the link or the flag or whatever you want to call it at the top of the screen right now. But you can check that video out. I go over everything on the car at that point, other than obviously the engine mounts. But yeah, it feels so much better. It shifts so much better. It's just a much more locked in feel, which is awesome. I love it. The vibrations at idle, they don't bother me. Some people it might bother. This is my daily driver, but it doesn't bother me. It's a good feel. It's not too stiff. You can get stiffer mounts that would obviously vibrate a little bit more, but this one feels really good. But yeah, I love it. The car feels a lot better. You can definitely feel, like before when I was pushing the clutch in, if I was doing a pull, you push the clutch in, you'd actually feel the engine and the transmission rock forward, which you don't want. And then shifting, obviously when you're going between gears, as soon as it hits any resistance, instead of going into gear, it would want to push the transmission forward or backwards depending on what gear you're going into. But that's gone, so a lot smoother shifts and everything. And then it's a lot more locked in feel. You feel more connected to the car. So replace the mounts, go a little performance. They are the 034 Motorsport ones. So there's a street density, so it's a good up from the factory ones without going too crazy. But yeah, feels really good. I'm gonna go inside, get a bite of pizza. So thanks for watching the little video here. If you got any questions, leave them down below. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Oh, and hey, while you're at it, why don't you hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for more videos. I do the Jetta videos here, as well as all my other normal RC related stuff. And then feel free to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You never know, I post a lot of stuff on there that doesn't get posted here, so you might like some of it.